Hi there. Good evening. Bonnie Violet here, a queer chaplain. And in case you don't know where you are, you found yourself at Drag and Spirituality, um, which I'm really excited at. We're actually going to be interviewing my 23rd drag artist, which I'm really excited. I just started counting them now. So it'll be number 23. Before we get started, I wanted to just let you know a couple of things. This is an opportunity for us to hear an individual talk about their experience with drag and spirituality and hold them together. This particular drag artist is very much into bringing their spirituality into their drag. So I think we'll have lots to talk about their experience with that. So we'll just be kind of talking about drag, we'll talking about spirituality, and we'll see where it goes. If you're not familiar with the Queer Chaplain, I'm just trying to I feel as a queer chaplain, I feel called to be with people around death and dying. And it's death and dying to self, which is usually comes with identities. It's when we find ourselves or start to see ourselves differently than we had once seen ourselves before. And I feel like that's like a death. And I've had that experience so many times in my life. And because I'm queer, because I'm trans, I haven't always felt like I could have spirit, like I could connect with my spirit or connect with God or have some sort of spirituality through that process. And so I feel I just want to hopefully create opportunities for people to invite their spirituality in whatever way they define it, into their life in whatever experience that they're having. Because I think a lot of the times I was told I couldn't or I didn't. Just hoping that this will start to change some of that. I think that's all I'm going to say. This is an opportunity where drag meets church. And so at drag shows, there's often tipping. So I will share with you our artist, Venmo. You can feel free to tip our queen throughout the night if you feel so inclined. And I think without further ado, I'm going to get this thing started. Oh, also, please take a moment and share this video on your social media, wherever you're watching it. Also, feel free to chat with us, ask questions, make comments, all that fun stuff. It just makes it a little bit more fun for us as well. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest. Our guest this evening is Miss Penny Cost.
Hello.
Love, how are you doing?
So good. It feels so good to be able to talk with you and with your people.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you here as well. Thanks for the share, Michael. I saw that you had shared that. Thanks so much. I always say I'm not very good at foreplay. I like to just go right in there.
Nice.
There are some folks from West Texas. That's right. Odessa, Texas, the Pride Center West is in the house. So hello, everyone. I'm glad that you could make it. And Kayla is saying, love in this look, Penny.
Thank you. It's my church lady meets Barbie meets, I don't know, lunch lady.
Right.
So, yeah.
Great. And we didn't even plan it, but we're both like in pinks and purples.
Oh, great minds think alike.
Works great. All right. So I like to start from the beginning too. So tell us a little bit about little Isaac. What was it like for little Isaac growing up?
Yeah, little Isaac was looking back, I see so much more flamboyantness in my life, but I was also very much like a hunter, fisher, outdoorsy person. So this right now is like the complete antithesis of who I was as a kid. I spent so much time in the woods with my dad and all of his friends. And I grew up in an extremely tight-knit family. And that was my first best friends were my cousins. And because we all grew up within like 10 minutes of each other. My aunt taught at my grade school. My other aunt lived 2 houses down and babysat us after school. So it was very tight-knit. Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up with a lot of my cousins too, and we all were like super, super close.
Yes.
Did you enjoy the time in the, I guess, in the woods and doing all that stuff? Or did you feel
I
just
did. I absolutely loved it. I liked it because it was in, I was, for as outgoing as I am now, as a kid, I was very reserved and very reflective. And so being in the woods, like 10, 12 hours at a time, being silent in a tree 30 feet off the ground, um, as like a 12-year-old, I loved it because I was able to think and to meditate and to just watch nature. And from a spiritual lens, looking back, I see that as like the first seed of my spirituality was just sitting and watching.
And at that time, you didn't call it that though, or you didn't experience it that way?
No, I just called it hunting. Or
Right.
yeah.
Well, when did religion or spirituality enter your life? Did it as a child or?
No, so yeah, this is, I should have also probably led with this, was that I wasn't raised in a super religious household. Like we prayed before meals, like God is great, God is good, and let us thank him for our food. But it was very much, to me, looking back, it felt more like washing your hands, like it was just something that we did. There wasn't a whole lot of meaning behind it. It wasn't until my first boyfriend invited me to church, like in high school, that I started becoming religious.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, it was all very, very much a more spiritual self-exploration that I would describe it. So no, I didn't really have a whole bunch of religion in my childhood.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a boyfriend. When did your I guess your sexuality come to life or I guess come to life for you? When did you start noticing, I guess?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I started noticing real young. It was like third, fourth grade-ish. Honestly, looking back, between second grade and fifth grade, all that blurs together. I have no idea what year was what and how age works. But somewhere around fourth-ish grade, I started realizing like, I don't really have crushes on girls like some of my other friends do. And then other people started noticing it around then as well. And that's been like a lot of the like self-hatred started being born. And I really receded into myself come like fifth, sixth grade. I was a really angsty kid. And it was in sixth grade that I had my first girlfriend. And it was very much like I need something to like signal that I'm not this monster that people are saying I am, being like this gay guy.
Right.
And yeah,
So realizing that was a scary thing for you. Was it something your family was aware of, or?
yeah, there is a. I come from a very traditional family, direct family, as in, oh hey, sorry, but I come from a very traditional direct family in the sense that my mom and my dad, growing up, were very. There's a lot of anti-LGBT sentiments and thoughts, and it was just very much the air that we breathed. I remember I have like distinct memories of being at Carlos O'Kelly's, which for many people around the country don't know, it's a chain Mexican restaurant. But we would go there every Sunday. And I have distinct memories of my dad asking to change tables into a different section from a waiter who was being stereotypically more flamboyant, had like a higher pitched voice and everything. And so there was a lot of messaging that was, this is not okay. And so I took it to heart and was like, this is not who I am. So
right. And it wasn't out of religion that they had kind of that distaste, if you will.
Yes, and so hi, Kaylin. That's one of my cousins. Hello. It's super complicated family, but for my dad, he was raised going to church like 5-6 days a week, twice on Sundays, and it was very much a hellfire and brimstone type of mentality. And so for him, it's very much a thought of like going to hell, abomination type thing.
Mm-hmm.
For my mom, she has grown and we are rebuilding our relationship. And it's come a really long way. There's been a lot of really healthy work that's been done. And I'm so proud of her and it. But yeah, for being well, hello, Ryan. But for her, it was more of like the air that we breathed again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I get it. It was more like, I want to say like culturally, or just, it was kind of like.
It wasn't even a question of whether or not it was good or bad. It was just automatically assumed bad, just from the small town, from everything. Yeah.
Right. And so you said in high school you had a boyfriend.
Yes.
Is that right? When did you come out? I guess
I came out let's see, it was the end of the summer of my junior year going into senior year. And it was a very slow process. Well, I should say come out to my family. That's when I came out to my family. I had started coming out my junior year because that's when I started dating my first couple, like dating my first couple boys and had my first couple encounters. But yes, I came out more formally in the summer/fall leading into my senior year of high school. And it was a really rough time. It was a time of like not only like me battling with, is this good, is this bad? Like this is a fact of my life. Now I have to assign meaning to it. Like I am identifying it, I am going forth with it. And then hearing extremely hurtful things from direct family members. And at one point, I actually moved out of my house and with my grandparents for several months in order to be able to complete high school, because it was a super, super toxic time. Just unhealthy for me and for the people in my household. There was a lot of different things going on.
Yeah. And when did I guess church? When did you become a church lady?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that boyfriend came from a family that went to church every Sunday, and Sunday was like a church ordeal. It was a small non-denominational church, but his family made up like 50% of the church membership. And so he like invited me, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. We'll see what's going on. I went and we were standing around afterwards discussing where to go for lunch. And it was like, are we going to Chili's or are we going to Cracker Barrel? Like those are the churchy places to go hang out afterwards. And the pastor came over, he goes, I'm going to be real awkward for a moment. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm about to be ran out of church on my first day, world. Like I'm an extremely competitive person, but like that is a whole new thing. So he's like, listen, I don't know who you are, why you're here. And like the room was silent because we were all standing in a circle and everyone's eyes was on me because at that time, the boyfriend wasn't out. And so I was just tagging along. And I was like, oh, dear God. Like, I'm just this gay friend who is here. And he goes, but you right here, right now is enough. And this is all you will ever have to be. And then he said, mic drop, and walked away. And I was like, I don't know what the flop to do with this information that was just shared with me. And it was like an extremely spiritual moment. And like now I would say like it felt very like Holy Ghost. Something was moving in that moment. Because after he said that, I realized that like the church is a place, it's a family that I can be a part of, and just be myself, and just like dwell and exist without having to explain or anything. So it was just really, really beautiful.
Yeah. Kara says, thank you, random boyfriend. We can ask for a better church lady.
That's my pastor, y'all.
Nice.
Oh my God, yes.
And that was that in a time when not too many people were really accepting you?
Yes,
or
that was the same time that I was kicked out / removing myself. I wasn't like told you must leave the home. It was like, this is no longer a livable environment. And so at that time that I was like losing these family connections, that in my mind, I was like, I'm never going to be able to regain these. I was also gaining this whole new system of family and friends and connections and support. So it was a really beautiful, beautiful time. Yeah.
Michael's saying that Michael's loving these stories. Do you know Michael? Do you need to say
I think so. Hello. I'm also really bad at names, and so I cannot see your picture from here, Michael.
Yeah, that can be challenging with names and stuff, especially on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so, when did drag come into your life?
Drag. So, flashback to high school. My best friend, the first one that I came out to, Allie Davis, who is now a kick-ass like tattoo artist extraordinaire, was obsessed with David Bowie and The Labyrinth and Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I was a theater kid, surprise, surprise. And she was like, if you ever want to dabble in drag, I want you to be Dr. Frankenfurter. And I was like, absolutely not. Never, never, ever will I ever don makeup on my face. And so that was like a seed that was there. And then my sophomore year of undergrad, I go to Illinois Wesleyan University here in good old Bloomington, Illinois. Bloomington had our first ever Pride Fest. And I was not 21 yet, so I couldn't go into gay bars and whatever, but there was a drag show, and it was my first ever drag show, and I met my first ever drag queen, Sharon Cherylike. We have a picture. I had shaved my head a few days before, so I'm bald in it. But I went and I was there, and I was like, this is so amazing. This is beautiful. The energy is amazing. And it was like the first time I was in like an authentically queer space that was by and for queer folks. And it like unlocked something in me. And at the same time, I was like, and I was like, oh shit. Here comes the internalized homophobia when I thought I was the most liberal, progressive person in the world. So it was a real humbling moment where I was like, time to unpack that. Yeah.
Sharon Cherylike is on here with us.
Yes, hi Sharon.
Also, there's a shout out to the 309. Is that Bloomington?
That's our area code.
Okay. All right. I thought as much. So were you already going to school to be like a minister?
Yeah. So at Wesleyan, I double major in religious studies and business management. And then I'm in the ordination process. So I am a certified candidate for ordination within the United Methodist Church. And that is just one step out of a 5-year process, including like seminary down the road. FN, easy, yes. So it's one step out of a 5-year process. I am the first openly gay man to be certified for candidacy within my conference. I am not the first gay man because people have been forced to remain in the closet or kicked out. Queer folks have been around forever. So yeah.
Well,
and I'm one of the first drag queens.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you go to the interview in drag or?
I was joking about it. I was like, it was the day before, and one of my volunteers, I helped run a remote learning program out of Hope United Methodist Church. And one of the volunteers said, "So what heels are you wearing tomorrow?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. We'll see." But I was totally like unapologetically myself in that interview and very clear about who I am and what I stand for and the ministries I'm a part of. So it was not a secret.
Right. And so for folks who might not be familiar with United Methodist, can you kind of talk about the significance, I guess, why? Yeah.
Yeah. So currently the church is going through a giant breakup. We currently have two traditions in the United Methodist Church that are fighting for power. We have the more traditional one, who is now calling themselves the Global Methodist Church. And we have the centrist and progressive one. And this is all of the power is being grabbed over LGBTQIA plus inclusion. Currently, the language is a self-avowed practicing homosexual is incompatible with the teachings of Jesus Christ, something like that. To which many people say, well, I'm not practicing, I'm a professional.
Right.
So that's yes. So there is a huge breakup that is like fighting for billions of dollars, thousands of churches, like around the world.
Yeah. And there's and someone had mentioned that it's been a breakup that's been happening for 40 years. So it's been a long time coming.
Yes, absolutely.
And some churches are starting to actually just leave the denomination altogether. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And that churches leaving isn't singled to the traditional or the more centrist progressive. Like people across the board are just fed up and they're leaving. There's people who are staying and fighting. And that's kind of what I am doing. Like I've been invited to like the UCC denomination or the Episcopal denomination as well. But I am dedicated to using the privilege that I have as a white cis man with so much support around me to help make way so that people with less privilege don't have to fight as hard in the future.
Yeah. So I guess for some people too, it's like, why would you stay in a denomination that wouldn't fully affirm you?
Yes. Yeah. And my bishop, I had a meeting back in August of 2019 with the bishop of my conference, and he asked that very question. He said, "Isaac, why stay?" And what I told him, and like I've said this in several interviews, is I said, because I and queer folks have been ran out of enough houses in our lives, I will not be ran out of the house of God. And so I am working to, I will work and I will fight and I will push until I'm told that I no longer can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. So when you first started doing, so did we talk about when you first did drag?
No.
Yeah.
So sophomore year of undergrad, experienced first drag show, whatever. It was beautiful, amazing, unpacked a lot of crap, and like transphobia, homophobia stuff. Still unpacking a lot of it. Like it's a daily process. But it wasn't until my junior year, so the next year, that I was like, hey, oh wait, no, it wasn't my senior year. I have taken some time off of school for like health reasons, and so time is a whole thing. But a year and a half ago, in November, I was, yes.
There's a lot of comments and stuff, so I'm trying to, I hope it's not confusing.
No, I just read the Pride Center West Texas comment, and that is amazing. That is beautiful.
Yeah, and it says the same reason, just because some folks will be listening on a podcast, Pride Center West Texas says the same reason we stay in a country that doesn't fully accept us.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. But I was in this class, and it's like the capstone to the religion major, and I was doing this research into like trying to find a topic to talk about, and I was like, why not talk about drag? Why not like drag spirituality, whatnot? And so I started looking into Mikhail Bakhtin, who was this old, now dead Russian philosopher. And he had this theory built around the carnivalesque of France in the 16th century. So like think The Hunchback of Notre Dame, like the Disney movie, like that time. His theory was that the best way to do change effectively and to subvert systems of oppression is through laughter. He pointed at the carnivalesque because it gave power to the most powerless in society and it celebrated them. And at the time, that was a way of subduing the crowd, being like, here is just enough power and just enough laughter to keep you interested in us. But he said, what if we sustain that? What if we gave it a little bit more? What happens then when the power becomes real and not just like a thing that pushes the system forward? And so my thought immediately was like, drag is very much a carnivalesque thing where like you get dolled up, you put on some big heels and some hair and everything, and you do laughter. You give power to these ostracized people of the country, and you create spaces where they can just exist and they can laugh. And then my next thought was, what if we take it one step forward and bring faith into it? Like, what if the system that is doing the most oppressing within these spaces, the church, the like capital C church, what if we try to subvert that through inverting the symbols that have been doing the oppression, like the 1960s church lady. And so that is where Miss Penny was born, was that idea of subversion, of dominating powers through laughter.
Which is powerful. And it's about like reclaiming space. It's not about like taking over something that wasn't ours, so to speak.
Yeah, it's taking the space that we have and saying we can do both. Like no one has a monopoly on faith. No one has a monopoly on the language. No one has a monopoly on the power. And so my drag is all about lifting up people, and saying like anything can exist. Anything can exist.
Right.
And it's all divine and it's all holy in my eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's more radical than a drag queen that hearts Jesus, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Like when people start wielding Bible passages, how powerful is it to be like, oh, well, according to the third source hypothesis of blah, 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 and like start quoting like actual contextual evidence back,
Right.
and being like, you're not the only one who can talk this. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. That was a lot of the reason why I wanted to do this, is because I felt like with drag, we only got to see one part, which is awesome, right? The entertainment, the humor, the fabulousness of it. But there's also like there's people who do the drag, and we have spirituality, and so that's a lot of what, because people are consuming a lot of drag in like the mainstream, but I think they're only consuming it in like one way.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Fun fact, have never watched an episode of Drag Race.
What? How did you do that?
Yeah, I know. Never once. But and like part of it is because of my like disdain for RuPaul and what Ru stands for. But like, I don't know. There's also beauty in supporting queens who have been on it. Because they are individuals fighting for their mission, their cause, their livelihood, and so I think that's really beautiful. But I also want to find ways to uplift different types of drag from different spaces, because drag is not just an American white thing. It is something that has existed since, I believe it was the first time the term drag was used was in the 14th century to describe, it was in a pamphlet to invite people to a big ball, and they said, "You shall come in drag," or whatever, roughly translated. And it meant come in gender bending types of way. And so it's been around for so long.
Yeah. No problem. Emily says it's about getting to know the people beyond drag. Casa Maria says, thank you for sharing your spiritual journey and wisdom. And Devin just says, I love this, Penny. The church and others need to stop oppressing LGBT plus. God has made no mistake in who we are. He loves all. Yes, definitely. So you have kind of been blowing up as a drag queen preacher doing Hail Marys, or not, is it Rosemary's?
The Holy Rosary. There's
Holy Rosary.
That's okay. That's all right. Drag started out for me as like, I talk about all this like theory and stuff that I like researched into it. But in actuality, like that was all like in theory, this is what drag could be. And then for me, it was like, ooh, this is an emotional outlet for me to explore what my ideas are of gender and to like explore how I feel about my body, and to like unpack some stuff. So it was like super therapeutic. And then a video of me praying the rosary went slightly viral in full drag. And it has since part of my career and my like ministry as a whole. So there's been like this flip going on. But yeah, the video that went viral was, I had gotten into drag and I pray the rosary just about every night. And I was like, I'll just film it and like talk about why it is that this is an important thing for me. And I use the language that I use in prayer, which is a genderless, formless God, a God that can be, I pray a lot. I start prayers off by saying, God the Father, the Mother, and the trans-identifying person of color, hear my prayer, whatever. It's important for folks to be able to see themselves in the divine, because the divine is also within them. And so by putting it outside of yourself, it's a lot easier to see it internally. And so there was a lot of pushback about that language.
that really resonates with me. So did you ever hesitate about doing your ministry in drag, or was it just like it just made sense from the
Yeah,
get-go?
it's just been a part of it. Like I've been doing like from the beginning. The first song that I ever did at like in drag was "You Can't Pray the Gay Away" by Laura Bell Bundy.
Yeah.
And I've done videos, like I've been invited to be Miss Penny in church services before that went viral. It was just a matter of time for it to catch on, and I didn't think it was going to happen soon or to this scale. But yeah.
And how has it been? How have people responded to you in church?
Yeah, so my church has been fantastic. I absolutely love my place so much. We have a ton of drag performers who go here. We're like 80% LGBTQIA plus. And so like it's been like constant support and everything. And there's been pushback and like a lot of negative things. I've been called. My favorite was when I was called the Antichrist. I was like, ooh, if I'm the Antichrist, you're looking good.
Be powerful.
But that didn't come from in my church. That came from outside. So my church itself has been super supportive. Leadership at the conference level of the UMC has been supportive of me as well. And what I find really exciting is the people from outside of Illinois who've been like reaching in and being like, hey, I see you, I support you. And also like, will you come preach, or will you come be a part of this service? So in the next month, I'll be in drag in 4 different churches in 3 different states, from Mobile, Alabama to Detroit, Michigan to Chicago to here in Bloomington, in drag, bringing the good word.
That's awesome. That's so exciting to have that be happening. Yeah, Devin is asking if you know Kevin Garcia.
Believe so. That name sounds very, very familiar.
Yes, I think they're. I've been coming to know of them a little bit as well. When I first started doing this, I thought nobody was out there. You know, like you feel kind of isolated, right?
Yeah. To hear that you've done 23 interviews, like mind blowing.
Yeah.
But like that's also like one of my favorite things about drag is that like we are so connected and like people from all over the world. Yeah, it's beautiful. We don't exist in isolation.
Yeah. It's I feel like you're one of the first people though that I'm interviewing, other than like myself, that is very intentionally spiritual, and that like it's the bulk of what you do in drag.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a very niche market. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I also think about how, and I've been talking to my pastor a lot about this, is like drag in itself is this beautiful art form, and churches have historically been one of the producers of art, one of the centers in uplifting art, from music to like whatever Michelangelo, whoever that guy was. But to see so many drag performers and people who this is just a part of them gravitate towards spirituality, it makes sense, because art in and of itself, I believe, is a very spiritual thing, however you describe that.
Right. What's your biggest dream and hope for Miss Pentecost?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about that yet.
It could be like where you'd maybe like to see her, or
biggest dream, Grand Ole Opry stage with Dolly Parton by my side. Dolly Parton is who I aspire to be in life. She is like, I like just a good person with this like country roots like me and big hair and like loving. And one of the things that I admire most is when she sees something that she has done that is wrong or in the past has thought that needs to change, she apologizes for it, and she commits to learning a new way of thinking and doing.
Yes.
And I think that's so important because we are all as human beings, we are stories that are changing and that are meant to change and adapt and learn and grow.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the guests, I think right? They'd like to see her on a date they want to see you on a date with them.
So fun fact, F and Easy, when I first took time off of school, I lived with FN and their partner for like 3 months. So we spent many nights having dinner together.
Fantastic. So I wanted to invite folks. We have about 20 more minutes or so of conversation, but I would love to ask Penny your questions. So if you have any questions of Penny, I will ask them of her. So feel free to put them in the comments. I'm also just going to take a second and I'm going to go ahead and share Penny's Venmo. So if you want to throw some coin at her, so she can get some wigs and some makeup. And
it's a little offering. I don't know.
You can continue to do the Lord's work. For sure. I'll leave it up there for a few minutes. I was going to see if there is going to be any questions that are going to come through. I know I don't want to give too much like power or time on like the hate or the people that are kind of coming at you. How are you coping or handling all of that?
Yeah. For everything that has happened, I feel like I'm coping well. I celebrate that there hasn't been death threats. Like me and my district superintendent, who's like my boss's boss, were like planning for like worst case scenario, someone threatens your life, where do you go? How do we protect you? So that hasn't happened. But I also, about a year and a half ago, was at this conference where the whole conference was about discerning your call. And it was the very last day, and I just broke down in tears. And I was like, I just have to go walk on my own. The conference was at Disney, so like there was plenty of places to walk around at, plenty of beautiful places, but I just like sobbing because I had this realization that I think that my name is being called to, for the lack of a better term, martyrdom in this conference that I'm a part of, because I don't think I will be ordained within this conference. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think my calling is being called to an end here, but that ending is a way to raise light and to instigate change, to be like, there are queer folks within this conference who want to be ordained, who have backgrounds that should allow them to be able to. And so I had this whole processing of like, this is gonna happen. I am gonna have a lot of hate facing me. And so having that whole year to like process that, and now, like I haven't had a crashing moment where I'm like, I just need to unplug from the world, which for someone who has major depressive disorder is a very, like a very prevalent thing, like could happen at any moment. But it hasn't, because I've had time to process it, and I have people around me who are like constantly checking in on me and making sure that things.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of folks on here that also say they have your back.
Yay! Yeah, and I have theirs.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing that I found that's surprising too, it's like the people that are coming at us are Christians. It's not like it's the, I guess, non-Christian people, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, how have you, like, let me brainstorm with you. Have you faced any like hate or backlash? How have you been able to set healthy boundaries between like, social media or anything? Just
Yeah, for the most part, I've been in a fairly, I think, like a very like insulated kind of community. So I hadn't really started experiencing too much of that until more recently. I got a TikTok for a minute.
Hey!
And that's when I first really started, like, I had like some girl come at me because I was wearing a cross in my ear and assuming that, I wouldn't be a follower of Jesus, or, she just made a lot of assumptions and came at me for wearing a cross as like a fashion statement or something. And so I think I was a little bit more surprised about that than like the vomit emojis and the, all that other stuff that kind of comes along. Yeah. Rachel asks, what can we do to best support you as Penny as well as Isaac?
That is a good question. I think just checking in. I feel like during the day, like when as with most individuals, when there are distractions in the world with like day-to-day rhythms, things are the most healthy, but it's like at night before bed that it like kind of hits. And like I know people who have depression or anxiety might be able to relate to that. Nadia Boltz-Weber, who's like this kick-ass Lutheran pastor, says that depression and anxiety, she calls it Kevin. It's like frat boy crashing on the couch who just won't leave. And it's when like you're at home and he's just bugging the crap out of you that it really hits you. And so I kind of relate to that as like the haters or whatever things in life is just Kevin the frat boy on the couch. Like he just doesn't get the hint.
Right. Rachel says, yes, depression is a bee at night. You know where I live, always here for you, boo thing. Yeah. And is it Kara? Is that Kara?
Yeah, Kara.
Kara says she's going to start a TikTok with you, huh?
We'll see. I had some of the kids at remote learning convinced that I was viral on TikTok and had like 20,000 followers, and I wouldn't tell them my name because I don't have a name on TikTok. Right. And they were trying to find it.
All right. And what else do you have going on next?
Yeah. So this Friday I'm in a show at the Bistro in Bloomington, which is amazing. It's been around for, I believe, 30 years. It's a gay bar in Central Illinois that's been around for 3 decades, which is unheard of. It's wonderful. The owner's birthday. It is sold out, so you have to catch it on Zoom.
What's your number?
I have 4 and
4 numbers. Wow.
Yeah.
Like a one-woman. Are you a one-woman show?
I know. But there's a lot of really cool performers who will be there. I am performing. The first one is a Frozen medley. And it's dedicated to COVID in the sense that Into the Unknown is the song that we're doing, and there's some growth that happens in COVID when you don't have to go and upkeep yourself. I'm a comedy queen, so it's comedic. I don't know how to explain it.
So, yeah. All right. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. Was there anything else that you wanted to speak to tonight that I haven't asked you about?
I think just the main thing is, like, wherever you are in the world right now, listening, or if you are gonna send this to someone, know that you are created perfect, in the sense that whatever form you take or will take in the future, or have taken in the past, like, that is divine. Um, whether you for 80 years saw yourself as a cis man and now you identify as a trans woman, like, you are beautiful and you are divine now. And, like, whatever your identity is, you are holy. And there is nothing that any institution can do that will strip you of your power and your grace and your love from the divine.
Yeah.
That's
beautiful. Very well said. Devin says, I've seen Golden Girls where Sophia says when people check up on you, you stay pretty. So Penny, I understand we both don't get a lot of threats, but I feel God has protected us with good folks. So stay blessed, beauty.
Yes. Yeah. Oh.
Sharon share alike says, very proud of you, Penny. I'm always here for you. You too, Bonnie. Great job. Thanks, Sharon.
Sharon is the host on Friday, so.
Oh, well, hey, that's fantastic. Thanks so much, Devin. It's been great to have so many folks on tonight and participating. I'm a one-woman show tonight, so it was like feeling like it actually wasn't too bad to just try to manage all the little bits and pieces. Someone had asked for your Venmo before again, so I'm just going to place it up there just in case folks didn't get to see that. All right, so I don't see that there's any other questions, and my brain is not coming up with any other questions either. So I wanted to go ahead and thank you for joining us tonight. For folks who are new to Dragon Spirituality, you can check out the link in the descriptions. As mentioned, Miss Penny Cost is our 23rd drag artist. So if you'd like to hear other drag artist stories, there's a variety of folks from different backgrounds and experiences and races and genders and even faiths or religions or none of those. So it's a really great time. And you can either listen to it on podcast, search for a queer chaplain wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can find any of those interviews. Everything is all unedited and raw. And that's not because I'm lazy. It's just I haven't been able to edit it yet. That's hopefully something that can happen in time, that we'll be able to edit some of those things. But you can watch it on YouTube or listen to it on a podcast as well. Please do share this interview with Miss Penny Cost with your friends and other folks. I'm glad that you could all join us. I wanted to also thank some of my Patreon members. So I want to thank Casey, Mark, Todd, Jonathan, Windy City Humanist, Jeff, and Jeffrey for their monthly support of my work. It helps me eat and continue to do the work. And hopefully eventually I'll be able to get folks to help with editing and that sort of thing. If you'd like to support with that, I'll go ahead and run that as a ticker at the bottom of the screen. I always feel weird saying all this stuff, so
I'll say it for you. Support Bonnie. Bonnie is amazing and doing kick-ass work, and you need to go, you need to share these videos and send all of the money and all of the love and all of the support, because this is healing work and this is important work, and it's giving voices to people who have been historically stripped of voices, as people watching, this is empowering, and it takes a lot of energy and time, and I just absolutely love Bonnie, and other people should as well, so go support her.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. It was great to have Texas in the house and Phoenix and There are a lot of other folks as well, but thanks so much for joining us. Take care. Have a great evening, and we'll see you again sometime. I'm going to play my little outro if I can find it here. Take care.